Okay, so we got Generation 7, which includes Pokemon Sun and Moon, and then of course their follow-ups as well. Um, Honestly, from what I remember is that I did not finish the game. I think I finished the one after, which is their follow-up or the remakes, whatever they were. But I don't remember a lot of the portion of the games. I think I actually fell asleep while playing the first half of Pokemon Sun. um, I don't know. To me, it was a little boring, to be honest. This is probably one of the, if not the only game that I may not have completed or that I actually slept on. Because the other games I would typically play, even stay up late, and there'd be no issues. So we're kind of off to a rough start. If we move over to the legendaries, we have, of course, the box art legendaries. We have Cosmog, which eventually evolves into one of them, I believe. And then we have the Zygarde alternate forms. We have the four island protectors. I believe that's what the whole spiel is. And then we have Necrozma. Um, Not too much to take home. Not that many legendaries for sure. If we go over to, let's see, where do I have it? Here we are introduced to Ultra Beast, which come from a different universe, apparently through the Ultra Wormhole. Um, Honestly, I didn't like them. I feel like there was no need for them, at least not this early, until later on when we're kind of running out of ideas. There's still a lot of things that could have been done for the game itself, but of course they introduced these. I've been seeing them a lot recently in Pokemon Go as well. Um, and I mean, obviously their designs are unique, but to me, they're not needed, nor do I care for them. This paper Pokemon, whatever, reminds me of how they messed up the whole Paper Mario series with them just focusing mostly on like having bosses be like scissors, staplers, or whatever. And I feel like Pokemon kind of did the same thing here. Of course, there's those that do enjoy it, and if you do, let me know. But to me, this just wasn't it. We have a few changes in design depending on certain things, including the forms, obviously. But there's not a lot to take home. Probably this is the biggest thing here. The Ash Ninja is this is also an idea that I didn't quite enjoy um, in the game or in the anime series. I just thought it was kind of like, okay, pull something out of nowhere. I believe we got more Mega Evolutions, or maybe we got these prior in a different game or remake, right? But if we look a little bit closer, just in case this is the case here, we have Mega Beedrill, which looks cool. Mega Pidgeot, which is alright. Mega Slowbro, which is, to me at least, it's like, no, no, don't do that. Um, just go down a little bit more. Okay, so I think it was Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire that we got a lot of these new Pokemon, but I'll go ahead and include them here. We got Mega Skeptile, which is super cool. We got Mega Blaziken, which is cool as well. Mega Swampert, Mega Sableye, which is sure, why not? Kind of make the most out of it. Mega Sharpedo is also cool. Mega Camera. The design is a little weird, but sure. Mega Altaria as well. We got Mega Glalie. I think this one makes sense the way they built it. Mega Salamence. They honestly didn't do much. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Yeah, like no, could have done better with that one. I feel like we got Mega Rayquaza, which looks cool. Mega Latios and Latios, no. Metacross is one of my favorites. Metagross, it looks pretty cool, especially the shiny one. Yeah, to me, it looks like it's going into assault mode. And then, of course, we got Mega Aldino. We just had to have Aldino for some reason. And then we have the Primal Groudon and Kyogre, which actually look pretty cool. Funny enough, I got a one of these shinies in Pokemon Go. Actually, Pokemon Go makes you get a lot of shinies easily. Um, but yeah, that was a Mega Evolution. Let's go to the Alolan region. I think from what I heard, it's really short. Again, I don't even remember finishing it. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I didn't particularly like their whole little Z moves, I believe they're called, where they dance and do special moves for certain Pokemon. Um, I just wasn't a fan of that, to be honest. I feel like you should have expanded solely on more Pokemon instead of, going that route. But I guess it made sense with the region that they were trying to portray. We go to the Pokedex. Decidueye is one of my favorite Pokemon as well. Incineroar is a good build. Primarina, sure, but whatever. I think overall this whole Pokedex, um, didn't include too many new Pokemon or good designs. So yeah, it was pretty mediocre, very short. We got a few of the legendaries here, right? And then we got these ultra forms, which are included in the Pokedex. Marshadow is actually pretty cool. I like that one as well. But yeah, there was barely any Pokemon in here. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, look how fast I go through it. But yeah, honestly, probably the region that I played the least and don't care for at all. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so I did want to jump into Pokemon Legend Arceus, however you want to say it. Some people may not consider it a main Pokemon game, kind of like the ones that we reviewed, but honestly, I do feel like it is. It's also a very good and well developed game, an open world type of game that we really much needed. So I really did enjoy that. It was actually pretty nice to play with it. I didn't find myself lagging too much or having like the game freeze, especially for an open world Pokemon game. So that's something that really stuck out to me. So let's go ahead and get started here. We are presented with ourselves going back into the past, right? Right before Sinnoh was discovered. It was known as the Hisui region. So off the bat there, you're going back in time and you're kind of like, okay, what's going on? You start doing missions, kind of like a ninja. And then next thing you know, you have a lot of these Pokemon that used to exist and apparently don't exist anymore. Oddly enough, some of them are evolutions, which is kind of insane. But yeah, I guess I can see how maybe something in the past wouldn't exist in the future, even if it's an evolution. So some of them include Wardeer, the evolution of Stantler, I believe, Cleavor, an alternate of Scizor. Where was it? Scyther. I think it's Scyther. And then Ursaluna, you got Basculegion, different forms, and then you also have Sneasler. I wasn't too fond of this, to be honest. We could have maybe chosen a different one. Overquill, yeah, okay. Enamorous, a new one of those gens, I believe they are. Um, and the best thing about these is that these were mini bosses in the game itself. So you got to challenge them, defeat them, and whatnot. I don't think all of them were bosses. I don't recall. But yeah, that was pretty cool. We got new forms, which are always welcoming. Having new forms, I feel like it's a great way to kind of expand on what's already there because it makes sense that some Pokemon may develop differently in different regions, right? And I hope I mentioned this in an earlier Pokemon game because I don't recall which one gave us our first region exclusive, if it might have been the one that we just mentioned, Pokemon Gen 8. But yeah, seeing all these different ones was pretty cool. We get the Voltorb line looking more kind of like wooden, kind of like the Johto version of apricots or whatnot. And then we got a new Typhlosion. I wasn't too fond of this, to be honest. Like I mentioned, I wasn't too fond of the Sneasel evolution. This one looks fine. We get a new Samura that's water dark. And that's another thing. We got a mix of the first Pokemon, right? The trios. We got different generations starting off as trios. That was pretty cool. We get Zoroark. This was a good design, especially for a normal ghost. Bravery is okay. We get Gudra, which becomes Steel. Again, kind of whatever about this design. Sure, Havelock, and then we get a Decidueye that's actually fighting. It's got that old samurai type of look. So that actually made it stick out quite a bit. And then we move on to the other two legendaries, right? We get Dialga and Palkia. Their origin forms are what they're supposed to look like. Seeing them appear in the game was kind of shocking to me. I was kind of like, what? Like, what is this? You know, it made you excited to fight them. So this was a really good addition and very much appreciated for sure. And then for the first time, I believe ever in a legit manner, you're able to actually catch Arceus. But I think you have to have caught every Pokemon in the game, available Pokemon, and complete every challenge. I'm yet to actually finish this challenge myself, um, but I think I'm very, very close. So for sure, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, I will get a shiny because the shiny looks really cool. And then we have the region itself. It's a lot of different areas here. And then again, the map itself doesn't look too big, right? You kind of just see these locations and you're like, oh, it looks small. But once you get there, it's like a whole region. You get to fly through it, you get to swim through it, you get to ride on your deer. Basically, the ones that we noted before, right? The mini bosses, you can use them, as far as I remember, in the real world to help you go through certain areas and complete certain challenges. So that's pretty cool. One of the things that I didn't like actually about this region is I think the different ways you can attack. It's like a strong attack and then a quick attack. I don't think I was much of a fan of that, as well as I think the Pokemon balls, and then the whole customization of your character. It was kind of whatever for me, but definitely one of the greatest addition in the Pokemon game for sure. Okay, so I do apologize again for the ads. I hope they give me revenue or something, but you know, Cerebi is helping me out a lot, so it's okay. I'll let it pass. So we go on to Generation 8, the Galar region. Galar region. Anyways, this region was huge. I believe it's one of the first times that we get DLC for the Pokemon games. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. Not only because the map itself, I would say, is pretty big, but you also have to um, keep in mind the DLC maps, right? Once the DLC arrived, you got to do so much more, and you got a lot more content. Honestly, in my point of view, I feel like obtaining the DLCs were actually worth it. A lot of times you buy DLCs for other games and you get minimal content. But for the Galar region, at least for Gen 8, it was very much worth it. That's one of the things that for sure stuck out to me. If we move on to the Pokedex, I feel like there wasn't that many new Pokemon added, but there was many different additions onto the Pokemon game itself. We do have some notable starters, especially Cinderace, which is a soccer playing bunny. I know that a lot of people feel like this is a very basic design of a starter, but it wasn't to me actually. I feel like it made sense, especially for the region. And you know, they made it as much as possible to make it work, especially once you get into its different forms. Inteleon was supposed to be kind of like a spy water Pokemon, but to me, I didn't really like the design. I feel like it could have been done a lot better. Rillaboom, again, this one's okay just because it also makes sense, but um, there wasn't much else. Corviknight was pretty cool. I like that they kind of use this. It kind of reminded me of maybe something that Skarmory might have needed, such as an evolution. Um, we also got other ones such as Appleton and Flapballs. Those were unique Pokemon for sure. We got a lot of other designs that kind of stick out. which I'll also get to in a little bit. These fossil Pokemon, I actually did not like. I kind of get the whole gist of it and how they might have messed up on the build itself when, trying to make them. Um, but yeah, it was kind of whatever to me. Dragapult is cool because it's a dragon ghost. So I thought, okay, I'll give you a pass as well. The legendaries were pretty cool, and especially the alternate forms, they make sense to me. Eternatus is cool as well, except once you get to its different form. These Urshifus were unique, but I don't know. I feel like their designs could have been a little better. This one, for example, fighting dark makes sense, but fighting water should have maybe had different colored robes. Zarude is a monkey, I guess, that can summon branches, as the movie lets us know. Um, it's okay. I mean, it's nothing too cool. We got new Reggies, which was pretty cool to see. These are also okay designs. Calyrex. Um, I don't know, to be honest. I actually, these are considered new Pokemon entries. No, they're not. 898. Okay. Yeah, it was okay. Honestly, a lot of okayness, at least for this time being, up until we get the new forms. Let's go ahead and start with that. So we got a new Galarian Mouth, Ponyta. These are pretty cool. Slowbros. The Weezing, I feel like was one of the best designs that they made. It just kind of made sense with the whole industrial factor there. We got the new birds, which apparently aren't really new birds, or some alternate forms, I guess. They're actually like new birds according to the lore or something like that. Um, yeah, okay. Those were pretty cool. I like the designs themselves. It's really different from the original, so that's kind of what's cool about it. Corsola, this one was a little sad, but it makes sense. I've been snorkeling a couple times on vacation, and yeah, a lot of the coral is kind of dead and dry, and it being a ghost, this was a pretty nice design. Slow King finally getting possessed. That one's also a good design. Zigzagoon and such are kind of okay for me. Okay, okay. Yeah, the Surf Fetch, that was a nice addition when I saw that. Mr. Rhyme, I get it, with the mustache and dancing and the cane. But yeah, to me, it's kind of like a hit or miss, right? It's like a few positives here, a few negatives there, like most games. Um, I think that was pretty much it. For one of the DLCs, you get to use a Max Slayer, I believe, and you get to catch almost every legendary Pokemon that's been out. That having all these Pokemon accessible, at least to me, I feel like was a little too much. It kind of takes away from transferring over from other games. So I can basically start this game here and catch almost all the legendaries, I think, by just getting the DLC, right? Rather than kind of progressing through previous games. I feel like a lot of that effort kind of goes to waste because they made it so accessible to get the legendaries. I didn't really like this form that Eternatus takes here. I can see kind of why they did it, but to me it was like like nothing really that different. And then of course we get to the main thing in this generation, which is Gigantamax, which is basically the Pokemon becoming giants. It was nice to see ever since the main series. You get to see the giant starters, and you're kind of like, whoa, like where are these coming from? But seeing this was also nice because it gives us new stuff, right? So new is typically good, but then sometimes it also isn't. Looking at all these Gigantamax, for sure, I like Blastoise the most. It looks very menacing, and then he gets all his canyons. It's the one that I use the most. Butterfree, yeah, okay, it looks cool. Kind of reminds me of the Mothra from Godzilla. Of course, there was going to be a Gigantamax Pikachu. The Meowth one was actually pretty different, and that kind of took me back. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Machamp, as if he's not strong enough. And we got Gengar again. one of the favorites, which is why I'm assuming they made them like this. This one was actually pretty cool, and it makes sense to me. Kingler was a nice addition as well. Lapras. These right here basically make sense to me. Eevee is a favorite, which is why I'm guessing they added it. Seeing Snorlax like this, it was a good design too, because I guess from sleeping, he just happens to, I don't know, start growing trees because he eats a lot. We got Garbodor, just a giant trash. Melmetal becomes like this humanoid shape. Rillaboom, yeah, I guess bigger drums and whatnot. Inteleon gets into like a tower to snipe. So yeah, they made them work. Cinderace, this one's also cool because why not make the ball bigger? Corviknight, I don't think it had many changes, so that one's kind of like whatever. Dreadnought, yeah, I don't know why they chose that one. Orbeetle, sure. The Flapple ones were interesting. Colossal, that's a very nice build, especially for the name. But yeah, overall, there's a lot of them that make sense. To Duraludon, I'm not sure why they made you into a tower, and I'm sorry, but they finally listened and actually changed the forms, right? We wanted them to be a little bit different, and they are different here, at least for these two. So yeah, this was a pretty good region. It's one of the ones that actually has stuck to me the most. Probably the most hours played in there just because of the content itself. Overall, a very good generation. Okay, and then last but not least, we have our last generation, Generation 9, which includes the most recent games of Sword and, actually not Sword, Scarlet and Violet. There is just so much to go into, so let's go ahead and get into it. Well, actually, before we got into it, we are getting Pokemon Legends ZNA, which is a follow-up from Arceus, Legends Arceus. It's expected next year in 2025. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Now on to this game, Scarlet and Violet. So the map themselves are huge. This is basically what the general game looks like. As you can tell from this interactive map, this area or map is, yeah, it's so huge. It's like unlike everything we've played before. This game is also open world, so I really enjoyed that because it just gives you so much to do. Um, you have what the typical 8 gyms you have to go defeat, and then you also have to defeat these bases, which are kind of like the villains, which are also students or peers of yours, which is interesting. And then you get to meet a lot of trainers who are very strong. Particular thing that I enjoyed about the whole gym and the Elite Four is that they're actually pretty strong. It's not like other games where if you get to a certain level, you might be able to beat them kind of relatively easy. So that was very nice. Interacting with the Pokemon themselves, you can see their full 3D sprites and how they move. So that was pretty cool. You get to interact with the map in many ways, such as being able to climb waterfalls. You get to fly and ride on your Pokemon. You get to also go over the water with them. It gives you a lot of compatibility with your legendary, and you get them off the bat, which is interesting. And interacting with the map itself. When you do get the DLCs, you get a lot of other additions. So overall, this is already many hours of content. You get the DLCs, and you get even more content. Um, this itself is 4 regions in one biodome. So literally, you cross like let's say this line, and it's already like a desert mode, ice mode, or whatever it is. There is so much story in the game, so many things to do. So when you think that you're finally kind of done with the game by beating, let's say, the gym leaders and the Elite Four, next thing you know, you have to go underground into a special cave, right? And then next thing you know, you have to go to a different region where you have to complete challenges and beat another Elite Four, which are even stronger. And then again, you go to a whole different area, kind of like a summer camp, because you are a student in these games, and now you have to be special legendaries and learn more about uh, crystallizing your Pokemon, which is in itself kind of like the new mechanic in the game. We go into the Pokedex, and you get pretty decent starter Pokemon. I feel like the Sprigatito line is pretty cool. The whole map, it's based on Spain, I believe, and that's why a lot of these Pokemon you may see are kind of depicted as such or created in a way that depict it. I started off with Skeledirge, which is a fire ghost. I feel like it's a really good Pokemon. You see the little sombrero here to kind of make it seem more Spain-ish. You get the new duck Pokemon starter, which I wasn't a fan of. I know a lot of people did like this starter, but honestly, I wasn't a fan of. You get the pig, you get a bunch of other Pokemon, some unique ones, some Pikachu-ish copies, others that you're kind of like, this is an evolution or whatnot, right? But yeah, overall, it has a lot of flavor, a lot of Pokemon. Others are kind of like right? But each series has different Pokemon. You get even Minecraft characters in here, and then as we move down, you get Pokemon differences or region differences, right? Specific forms such as this one here that changes. Can't even remember the first name. Tentacle and Tentacruel from water, I think poison to ground grass. You also get some bosses that you have to fight, and you can catch them. They're Titan Pokemon, which I also have a tab here somewhere, I believe. But yeah, as you can tell, there's a lot of variety. Finally, a dolphin Pokemon. Others that you're kind of like, wow, they hadn't created one of these before. Flamingo, literally called Flamigo. um, Different variations, which we'll also get into right now. We get a new Taurus regional difference, which is pretty cool. You get both water and fire. It's also fighting. And then you get a different Whooper. Again, we get a new variation. We'll get into these right now, just because there's a lot to cover for sure. So we get new evolutions. For example, Girafarig, you never would have thought it would evolve, but guess what? It does. You get Dunsparce evolving into the Dunsparce. This was probably one of the most um, unfortunate things that I saw in this game. I honestly would have hoped for this to evolve into a better form, but unfortunately it didn't. Annihilate is a primate evolution, where unfortunately it dies for it to evolve, but it is a really cool new Pokemon. I wasn't that much of a fan of the King Gambit evolution. Great Tusk is pretty cool. We have all these alternate forms that are found within the cave that you go explore. You get a lot of them that don't make sense, and at least for me, I wasn't a fan of, such as Sandy Shocks. Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, right? There's gonna be certain things in these games that you're kind of like, why? We get futuristic builds where they're literally just robots of pre-existing Pokemon, which I'm not a fan of either, honestly. But yeah, here they are. And then we get other forms that are just kind of like goofy looking, right? Um, we have mythical Pokemon, legendary Pokemon. You have your starters, and then again, they make different variants of pre-existing legendary Pokemon, robot forms, which again, why this Suicune form looks really cool. But I don't know how I feel about this one. The mechanical ones for sure, I didn't like. It's like what happened if they go extinct and now we have robots of them. Like I don't think that should be Pokemon. Kind of like beforehand I had talked about me not liking the whole Ultra Beast thing. Um, we have Dipling, a new variant. We have a new variant of these. Other legendaries, which are kind of like whatever, to be honest. Yeah, Archaludon, which is an evolution of Duraludon. Sure, made it look like a bridge. And then we have other stuff such as Entei looking weird, Raikou looking like that for some reason. A lot of these, yeah, you just can't unfortunately unsee, and that's kind of what we get. And then we have our most recent Pokemon from our DLCs, um, including these two. again, we have different forms, right? We have our Paradox Pokemon in the past. So these are past forms of Pokemon that we have. Some of them are insanely strong, which is insane. And then we have those that are in the future, which is okay, I guess. I mean, past and future, sure, I get the whole spiel. Okay. And then we go back into our legendaries. There's a lot of stories, a lot of missions to kind of catch these specific legendaries. So that's pretty cool. Um, once you get and complete all of these, you go ahead and finally find the legendary Pokemons. And then for a lot of these, for example, starting here, you have to have a DLC. It's a lot of good stories as well. You definitely have a lot to play. We go back into our titans, like I had mentioned before. These are mini bosses. If you play Legend Arceus, then for sure you remember the mini bosses, right? You get to capture these, which is pretty cool. I don't remember if they have a stat boost or not, but they're definitely bigger than their original forms, I believe. Yeah, this is kind of fun, right? And this is what they look like. Some of them are kind of like, like, right? Most of this, honestly, this is like the only unique one that I like. So we go over here, we have our different forms, and some of these are super cool. Like the Taurus line, we have the Ursaluna, which looks like a zombie. Honestly, this should have been like a, I don't know, ground ghost or something like that. Looks like it got beat up and it passed away and came back. Really scary. And then we have our dolphin becoming a superhero, which I would have never expected. This kind of came out of left field. My friend used it in his team. He says it was pretty good, and I would imagine so. Again, these two here, I don't know what happened. We have different variations of certain Pokemon. I can press delete on these, and I'd be okay with that. And then this legendary itself comes from a DLC. Um, these are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. The different masks that it wears gets different abilities and protection and whatnot. This was really cool. I thought this was really cool to be honest, especially as a boss Pokemon. Um, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into our main thing for the game, which is tetralizing forms. Basically, some of these Pokemon have a tetralizing form, which changes your original typing of the Pokemon. You get to use it every X amount of turns, and you're able to change your Pokemon's typing depending on where you caught it, and what typing it has. I don't remember if you're able to change their Terraform by using specific items or if you're stuck with it. So, for example, who's that Pokemon, right? It's a Meryl. I think that is either Bug or Steel. Maybe I'm wrong, but right, how would you get a Meryl with Bug or Steel? That would never happen, right? But with the new Terraforms, they're able to change typing. So while it might be, let's say, water while you're fighting, you go into the terraform and now it's bug or steel, which makes steel not effective or strong against the mirror, at least for some turns, depending on who you're fighting. So it can be advantageous, and for sure you want to be skillful with using it. So there's that. One of the big things that I also enjoy is obviously the Terra battling. So you go into these special caves that shoot out beams. That's how you see them on the map. You go there and you find specific Pokemon with varying difficulties. You can either play by yourself or play with others online. And so that's pretty cool, kind of fighting together to be Pokemon. I don't think this is the first time that you get to do this, but it is pretty cool. These are the list of Pokemon that you're able to see, and they actually tell you what typing they may have. So let's see something cool here. So Arcanine, Fire, 5-star raids. Okay. Keep going. This is kind of how you capture other Pokemon too that you would not normally see in the Pokedex or whatnot. But there is a lot. And then of course you get the events where you can actually try to catch additional legendaries with different typing and all that good stuff as well. There's different evolution methods, right, that you can use on your Pokemon. So we see here that some of them use the traditional stones, others use certain items, right, to evolve. Others require that you walk them to evolve them. There is just so much content that you cannot even imagine. So much content that for sure um, makes this worthwhile, especially if you're buying DLCs and all that. I strongly recommend you do just because you get your money's worth, to be honest. You are going to definitely be playing for a while. And again, you get a lot of content. So yeah, there is definitely a lot to go through with the Pokemon series. We have spin-off games, right? Such as like the Pokemon Rangers. We have those other games such as XD Darkness, Coliseum, Pokemon Stadium. We have the mission games as well. Let's see here. Pokemon Home for saving your Pokemon, Mystery Dungeons. So we just have so many games that we can review. But overall, I would say that we are in a good space right now, at least for Pokemon, based on content. We are just getting a lot more content lately, I feel like. And hopefully, I'm hoping that in the future we're gonna get another Johto remake. Um, just because it's probably one of the best regions that I've seen. We are coming up to the 10th generation. I hope that the Pokedex itself is pretty lengthy. I hope that it has a lot of story and variety, just like this recent Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that this Pokemon thing will keep going for a while. I remember testing for Pokemon Go before it came out, and now it's this worldwide phenomenon. I hope that that also keeps improving, and we'll see where we're at. But yeah, that's the video. I know it's pretty long. Let us know what you like and dislike about every generation. And yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I do upload videos that I just in general want to make or I find interesting, so there's should be a little bit of everything for everyone. And then of course I also make videos to try to help you fix your setup, your gaming setup, that is. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video.